Welcome to the ATX Pest Podcast, episode 13, rodenticides. So, I apologize. I missed the Tuesday deadline this week. No podcast went out. Episode 13 I'm working on that now. And it's actually Thursday, 2 days late as I'm doing this, and I'm going to hurry up and edit this and upload it today. I usually have these done a week in advance, to be honest. But I'm kind of glad that I missed it, because it gave me a better topic to speak on today. I just got back from a pest expo in Fort Worth, Texas. And it's my first one at expo that I've ever been to. I've been wanting to go to them for quite some time, but usually just make an excuse that I'm too busy or can't get away or whatnot. Luckily, I have a really good team, so they held everything down for me as I was gone for a few days, and I really enjoyed it. It was met some really good folks, and I'm going to get into that. As all of you are probably aware, if you've listened to any of these before, I have my own pest control company. It's called EvoFoam Pest Control. We're extremely unique because we really have a pending patent for our exterior foam treatment that we have, and a lot of folks were really jazzed about the foam, and as they should be. It's definitely something that's very innovative that we've done, and like anything, it takes time to market it and get the word out. And they were very intrigued by it, which is great. So I made some really good contacts with the dinner with a couple of reps that actually brought me out to dinner through a mutual friend that's a chemical rep for me. And it was great. There were a couple of great guys from one of the companies that the rodenticide baits and rodent stations. They just do rodent stuff, and they're out of the UK. It's called PelGar. And it's just some great folks. And one of the guy reps, he has his own business selling products, and he sells PelGar's products as well for him. And so it was great meeting them. A couple stand-up guys in the industry, very knowledgeable, friendly, just overall good people. But I really liked the story that they had, and the products are amazing. I'm very excited. They gave me samples of the rodenticide baits and tubes. So here I'm going through a pretty expensive restaurant, and I'm carrying rodent baits and lures in my hand because we left right straight from the expo and walked a few blocks to the restaurant, and had an amazing meal and great conversation. And essentially, I ended up purchasing a couple pallets of rodent stations to replace the ones that we're currently using. And they're being shipped from this company it's international. It's actually out of the UK. And so I've decided to make a switch to their exterior rodent bait stations that we put out around our customers' residential homes and our commercial buildings. And they are essentially indestructible. He was throwing them on the ground, and everyone's looking at this crazy guy pounding these things on the ground, and they went shattered, they went cracked, they went break, nothing. And he's jump on them. I'm like, come on. So I little stop on him. No, I mean, really, and he started jumping on this thing and like trying to break it, and it didn't even put a scratch into them. It was pretty amazing. I would imagine you'd have to run over with the car. You could crack the top of them, but it takes a great effort to damage these. A dog or a small child or something, that would obviously be our concern with, potentially being able to infiltrate these things, because they're locked, secured boxes. It would take a great effort, and they wouldn't be able to accomplish that, which is most important. So the interesting thing about the station is that they're actually made from recycled car bumpers. So That's awesome. Um, and just it's a great design. So you have to be a pest control person to understand to geek out on something like this. You probably, you know, laugh about that, but they're pretty cool. All my guys are really excited about them. They're actually going to be privately labeled with our company name and information on there, which is awesome. Um, and they're actually going to ship these from the UK. It takes about 6 weeks, and they have a place in the States where they're going to hold a pallet for us. And when I let them know that we need another one, they'll ship another pallet to us. So great, great product. I'll definitely probably mention these again as we start using them. But we're really excited. The other thing I wanted to mention about is their rodenticide baits that they have. Um, they've got a bait that I got a sample of that I'm really excited about. We're going to start the testing phase next month. Here in a week or so, we're going to pick a couple accounts, commercial accounts especially, that we have some significant roof rat activity, constant dealership that we do, and another facility that we know that there's going to be bait eaten from there, and we're going to add this bait to the mix and see how much they like it. See if it's an equal on par with the current rodenticide blocks that baits that we've been using. Um, the benefits to it is amazing. So rodenticide baits is probably the biggest liability that any of us pest control companies have, and also one of the biggest concerns that homeowners have because of their pets and their children, and completely understand that. Um, Secondary poisoning has always been a huge concern, and I'll have to say, I think Europe, probably hate to admit this, but I think Europe is a step ahead of us when it comes to rodents, anyways. Um, this individual that I was out to dinner with, he actually formulated and created this bait. This is his formulation, which is which is awesome. It made it such a good story. That's why I want to support him, and I'm pretty I'm pretty confident that it's going to be just as effective, at least, if not better, than what we're currently using. And the beautiful thing about it is we'd probably be one of the only companies in the U.S. using it right now, and probably definitely are the only company in this market in Austin area utilizing it. So here's the skinny on rodenticides. There is really one main active ingredient called bromadiene that is used, that all of us companies use um, primarily. It's really the only thing that's used. Does a good job. Now, when I say this, do I mean should you be worried or scared? No. Um, it actually takes bromadiene as an active, takes about an animal, for instance, if you took a dog, they would have to eat 20% of their body weight to really get a lethal dose. Okay. That's quite a bit. For instance, we're typically only putting about 3 ounces of bait per station. So they have to go around and eat a lot of bait at a lot of different stations. You have a lot of stations out there for them to really essentially um, kill themselves. Okay. So can they get sick? Yes, of course they can get sick. They could feel ill. Smaller non-target pests, can they get, a dose of it? Well, they have to get quite a bit, so the reality of it is that secondary poisoning is a very rare thing, for the most part, especially if it's when it comes to eating, like a bird eating a dead mouse or something like that, you know. So when they find a lot of dead animals, at times they'll do tests on them and find traces of rodenticide in their body, in their blood. Okay, and so naturally think, oh my god, that's what killed them, and then they get, EPA gets involved, and so put some crazy restrictions on things at times, and and that's, I agree with a lot of things. We want everything to be as, dare I say, safe, and not really supposed to use that word in this industry, but that's essentially what we're shooting for, is safe, right? Safe as possible. Um, the reality of it is that all of us companies out there, as long as they're doing their technicians doing their job properly, these are all placed in lock secured bait stations, which is a good reason why you, the homeowner, leave these things the hell alone. You know, you have no business trying to break into them, going in there. You might end up, poisoning your pet or your child that might eat it, gets, who knows. So stay out of them. But the reality of it is that they're lock secured. And even at 20% body weight, it is extremely unlikely that you would ever, a pet's going to get a lethal dose of this. But here's a great thing about this new bait. The active ingredient is called difenicum. I believe I pronounced that right. It takes 100% of its body weight they have to eat of this active ingredient bait, in order to have that same lethal effect, which is honestly, that's a huge difference, right? That's astronomically different and safer. It's a second generation anticoagulant. And that's the other thing too. It has just a lower toxicity profile than bromodiazepine. Okay. And that's how these baits in particular, difenicum or this bromodiazepine, like we all are currently using, for doing rodent control, they're anticoagulants. Okay. How that works is, an anticoagulant, they will basically, it inhibits them from actually having, the ability, it reduces the ability of the rodent's blood to clot. Okay. By definition. And each active has a different level of toxicity to mice and rats as well with these products. But essentially, it's going to prevent them from clotting, and they bleed internally. And so, one of the biggest myths also too with rodents is that, oh well, people always assume that they're being attracted to your house because you have rodent stations up. That is not true. They're foraging for food. Okay. Um, if you have bait stations properly protecting your structure, your perimeter of your yard, of your home, um, they're going to run into these stations. They're going to find it. Okay. There's not like they're half a mile down the road or even 100 yards away and sitting there like they can smell it and they come running. Dinner time. They're not. It's not a dinner bell for them. They're not attracting. That means they're there. Okay. You need some type of control measure. And that's what this is. This is a control measure. It's not elimination. It's a control measure to prevent them from penetrating further into closer to the home and then getting into the home potentially. So you need to stop them. So how do you stop them? You put rodenticide stations out with bait in them, and you put a perimeter up. Okay, it's kind of like, it's like the military. You put a perimeter up, protect your home and your bunker at all costs, right? So that's what you need to do for your home or your business. You need to put a perimeter up. You do that for rats and mice. You do that through exterior rodent stations. Okay, they're lock secured. They should be maintained, cleaned out. Yes, rodents actually like a clean habitat like that, so they don't like to go into grass clippings and leaves and really a lot of debris and junk that gets into rodent stations. We have to open those up and clean those out. That's maintenance that we have to do, and then change out bait as necessary to make sure that there's proper amount of fresh bait inside of it. And bait can last a very long time. Doesn't have to necessarily mean that you're going to get your bait changed out every time. It's not always necessary. Um, and that's one thing I like about these new stations, is that they actually have a UV protectant, like a polymer sprayed on them, protectant on these stations. It may not be a polymer, that sounds like a good word to use, but from my understanding, they have a UV protectant that's sprayed into these stations that protects it from the sun, the rays of the sun, obviously. Because one of the biggest issues that we have, with these current rodent station blocks that we all use is that the heat will beat down on these black colored stations, and they do that to keep them a little bit more hidden for folks so they don't stick out like a sore thumb. That's why they primarily make them black. I would I would prefer green, but they make them black. And just the way they've always made them. Every stainless station practically out there in the market's practically black, um, just for that reason. And they'll actually obviously attract a lot of heat. And so the bait blocks inside will kind of break off and they'll fall off the spindles inside, which is no good. That's when you have to worry about, them getting messed with, kicked, and possibly having bait come out of it. So that's why it's important to be on a rodent program, and why at our company we try to put people on a monthly or a bi-monthly protocol for rodents for a couple of reasons. Number one, for that, and then number two is once these rodents have eaten all that bait out of that, you're left unprotected. And sometimes with quarterly pest control, that extra month could mean that you're unprotected for a couple weeks or so. So it's really important. Frequency, dictates um, your surroundings and the activity level, of course. Maybe what we call conducive conditions. If you have a green belt behind you or a lake or a pond near you, yeah, you're going to have or a lot of clutter in your yard, or your neighbors do. Those are all conducive conditions. You're going to naturally have more rodents. Okay, so you have to keep that in mind, and your pest control company provider should be the professional to let you know what you need, and you should listen to them. Okay, because that's if they're telling you that, there's a reason for it. So that's a couple really cool things. They have some other cool products too that we might try out, but initially, I'm all in. We're going to the rodent stations. I think those are awesome. We're starting to test out their bait here in about the next week or two, and hopefully get some favorable results to report back. And I'll report back in another episode and let y'all know what we have found. But we're really excited about it. I think it seems like a great company, good people for sure. Um, so we're gonna run with it and test out the bait, and hopefully that performs just as well like we think it will, and we will be implementing that as our standard, and just get a safer service. Even though the service is secure and nothing to worry about, but you can ever be potentially safer. Why wouldn't you do it? I think it's very important. That's why, at our company we do the foam treatments as well, because we use less insecticide than the average company, and we get better results. I mean, that's great and all, but the biggest thing is the environment and our pets, our family. That's what companies should be worried about. And sometimes when we hear restrictions coming along from California is really big on that, and then you hear it from other countries, and like Europe, for instance, that are very restrictive on certain things. It's coming our way someday; it'll trickle down, but some things are unnecessary at times, and I don't agree with a lot of it. But sometimes it's for the benefit and the good for the environment and the safety of all of us. So I'm all for change. I normally don't like change, but when it comes to stuff like this, I'm all for change as long as it's effective. So that's the big question that we have, right? And so we'll figure that out. But I appreciate you all tuning in. I'm sorry for being a couple days late on the podcast, but like I said, I'm glad I was. I changed the topic completely that I was going to speak on, but this is great stuff. And if, like always, hopefully this takeaway from this is hopefully you get a little bit better understanding about rodent control and not being fearful of having rodent control around your home, but also being able to ask good questions to maybe your current pest control company, or if you're prospecting a new company to come do your service. And of course, I'm here. Love you to prospect me and our company. We'd love to have your business, of course, but at the very least, give me a call. I'm glad to speak to you. Answer any questions that you may have. You can get a hold of me, EvoFoam Pest Control, 512-588-2998. Visit our website, evofoampest.com. Y'all be good.